Welcome YouTube. This is Reaper556 back in with you with another YouTube video. As you noticed, you see these ammo boxes and these various bullets on this table right here. What I'm here to explain to you today is the common pistol calibers that you'll find for self-defense and the two different various rounds. All right, here on this table I have full metal jackets, which is these three, and they are in 9mm 40 Smith & Wesson 45 ACP. And then right here in front of me, I have the same calibers, but in hollow points, and they're all jacketed hollow points. And I'll explain that in a second. All right, full metal jacket. What a full metal jacket is basically is an encased round, all the way around, encased lead with soft lead on the inside. Hence, full metal jacket is completely covered. Those are used for target practice. They give more penetration as far as, actually sticking into the target. The problem is you should never use full metal jackets for a self-defense round. Never. I would never recommend it, because at that point, it's a possibility that the full metal jacket could cause a through and through. And what that is, meaning that it's a flesh wound. The bullet does not lodge into the intended target, and it'll pass through the target and possibly hit someone and cause collateral damage. That's not what you want if you're defending yourself, because at that point you will have more problems in the long run. So that's not what you want. Now, the full metal jacket, these rounds right here, the jacketed hollow points, are like full metal jackets, but as you can see, they're hollow on the inside. So reason why these are better for personal protection rounds is at the point of impact, when it hits the target, it doesn't have as much velocity as a full metal jacket would, so it wouldn't necessarily cause a through and through or a flesh wound. So what happens at the point of impact is that the hollowness, you got points right here at the end, right? And they spread what we would call in ballistics a mushroom. So it lodges in the target and it transfers more of the energy to the target. And that's what you want. You don't want a through and through or anything of that nature. That's exactly what you would want in terms of defending yourself. The 9mm is a German design. It was developed for World War I. It's been around for quite a while. It has been perfected over the years. That's why law enforcement went from 40 Smith & Wesson to 9mm, because of the technology and the various pressures that they've been able to achieve and to get actual ballistic results that you would get with a 40 or a 45 ACP in that certain standard. The 40 Smith & Wesson is a 180 grain bullet. It was designed for the FBI, and the reason why it was designed, because at the time the FBI was using the 9mm Luger, and it wasn't producing results as far as what they would consider stopping power. And I'll get into that later on in this video, because stopping power does not actually exist, and I'll tell you the reason why it doesn't exist. And they needed something more stronger. Now, the problem with the 40 Smith & Wesson is the PSI that it produces, and it produces a lot more recoil, but they had to have something in place that was still manageable, because they were using also, I don't have on this table, because it's not really a common caliber, is the 10mm. The 10mm is a very valuable round, but a lot of people couldn't shoot it as far as for the FBI goes, because you have men and women, so they had to develop a cartridge that was intermediate between the 10mm and the 9mm, something that would have a little bit more power behind it, enough to put the target down, but not to the point where it couldn't be handled as far as shooting. So that's where the 40 Smith & Wesson came into play. The 45 ACP is just as old as the 9mm Luger. It is a American round that was developed and was used in the Thompson submachine gun and the Colt Model 1911 A1. It's a very valuable round. It's been out for a very long time. It's still reliable, but as far as performance, it lacks in certain areas versus other pistol cartridge rounds. Now, you are going to say that, okay, Reaper, I can't afford hollow point ammunition. And it is expensive. Granted, I understand. But there is some ammunition that you can buy. People may knock it, but you got to start somewhere, and then you actually can go to the range and actually shoot it, and it really won't break the bank. Because I'll tell you, with self-defense, I always tell people, train with whatever weapon you carry. That is the most important part. Get to know your weapon. Know what types of certain ammunition that it feeds well into, what ballistic results certain ammunitions will produce, how your weapon functions shooting it. So right here I have Winchester 9mm. It's 147 grain. That is a 50 round box. Got it out of Walmart. Doesn't cost any more than about 25 bucks. Same here. And these are all jacketed hollow points. They're 40 Smith & Wesson, 180 grain. Cost me about 28 bucks. 45 auto also. Jacketed hollow point, personal protection. That cost me about roughly 32 bucks. Not bad. Now, if you want something reliable, and by I mean reliable, now I'm still considering hollow points as a point of personal protection. That's why they're called personal protection. You never want to use full metal jackets for personal protection. If you are, please do everyone else around you a favor and do yourself a favor. I'm telling you, you will thank yourself, because full metal jackets are only used for plinking and targeting. I would never use for personal protection. Definitely not in the house, and definitely not out in the environment where you would have to protect yourself, because you'll do more harm than good. Full metal jackets over penetrate, and can go through walls. You might hit one of your family members trying to defend yourself, or hit someone else, and it'll cause collateral damage. So if you're doing it, please stop. But one that I do carry, and this is in a 9mm, this is Federal HST premium ammunition. Very, very reliable. You could also use Hornady. Hornady's very good. I know a lot of retired military veterans who've done tours, and they say that Hornady is basically military grade. It's the closest thing to using NATO, and that's about the best you can get around. You can also use that if you could find it. You could also use Buffalo Bore, but that's really hard to find, and you probably have to get it off the internet. But those are the ones that I would trust. You know, Hornady Critical Defense. You can use rip rounds, but a lot of people have talked trash about rip rounds. Rip rounds are just very expensive, but they do work. And the reason why they do work is they penetrate well because it's copper, and they mushroom not in a way where a traditional hollow point would. They separate and create more wound channels. But anyone that knows, if you're defending in your home, and you might not want to hear this, but you would want to kill the individual and leave him where he stands, versus you shooting him and then he might bleed, and then there's a chance he'll live, because at that time that person can still sue you even though you were defending yourself. So a lot of people talk bad about rip rounds, but in my opinion, I think they're still a viable round. but I rather use something that's been around for a minute and give it time. But federal HST, this is law enforcement ammunition. What law enforcement use. Hornady critical defense, you could use that, or you could use RIP if you have the money to spend. But if not, you can go to Walmart, get Winchester personal jacket hollow point protection. That's cheaper and it's still reliable in my opinion. All right, guys, that pretty much sums up today's video. Once again, my name is Reaper556. If you're new to the channel, please help the channel grow. Like, comment, and subscribe. I get all comments directed towards my phone and I will respond in a timely manner. Also, if you like this shirt that I'm wearing, this is merchandise that I'm also been working on building for the channel. I will have a store up soon and will give a link in the description of the video so you can purchase. I'm also working on more merchandise as well. Thank you for your time. Be sure to check back with me again for another video.